Hello everybody, and welcome to the director's commentary for The Rabbids Revival 2, Miracle. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I haven't really thought of a great way to do it, or a great time to do it. And now that the episode is almost 3 months old, I think it's a perfect time. This episode went through a lot. I believe the original episode released in 2023, or 2024, at least a long time ago. And I have always wanted to make a second episode, after the first one, obviously. If you remember, in the making of video, I teased a Rabbit Survival 2. The original Rabbit Survival 2 was going to be very different from what you're about to watch. I created the first version of the Rabbit Survival 2 about a few weeks after we wrapped up the first episode, and it was basically going to be just a simple Walten Files 2 remake with a couple of changes, especially near the ending, where Brian's fate was going to be revealed, but it was going to be pretty still not that direct, definitely not as direct as in this episode. There were going to be a few new parts. I might show them on screen. One of them was like an introduction to your mission and how to repair the robots, and some scenes with Felix and Chris. And the problem was that these didn't really add much, and there wasn't really anything specific I was going for in the episode. I was really happy working on the ending, but I was just not very focused during the entire development of that first version of the Rabbit Survival 2. I also worked on it and the making of video basically at the same time, because I always wanted to tease the second Rabbit Survival, and I thought I had come to a point where I had enough to show off for a teaser, and then I just immediately sent it out. And at that point, I thought that I was going to completely be able to finish it, but I just kept not being happy with it, and eventually I decided to just end it because I had no more interest in working on it. Later on, I decided that I should try making a completely unique episode with the information that we had at that point. And it was going to be it's the closest to what the episode was actually going to end up being. This never went very far, but it was pretty much going to be similar to what you're seeing now, with the exception of a lot of details that we came up with while making the earlier version of the Rabbit Survival 2. And there are many things that still seem interesting to do. The problem that I had while making these episodes, though, is that I really did keep fixating on extra scenes to lengthen the episodes and making everything as groundbreaking and crazy as possible. And the problem with that is that you're just not focused on the episode then. You just want to make a big thing that's just going to be like as good or as better as what is officially being made. And it just did not work out at all. And when you're not working in a focused with a focused plan, with focused scenes, you just lose motivation, or at least I did. And so I threw that away, but not before coming up with a lot of very interesting lore and ideas for the Rabbit Survival, because one of my friends, Bob, at the time was very, very interested in how the series would continue past the second episode, and started writing up a whole bunch of ideas for characters and events and a bunch of other stuff, which seemed really interesting, but those ideas, I did not decide to use them yet because I kept them waiting until I would create a third or a fourth episode, which I did not think on doing at that time, obviously. But cut to around, let me see, March, I got curious. This was, Walten Files 4 had released. I got very curious about these earlier plans because I did remember being very excited about them and their implications and whatever. And then I started reading them, and then I realized how truly interesting and exciting they are. On a whim, I discussed this with Bob, and I decided that this might actually be worth being revealed. And so I immediately started scripting the second video in the Rabbit Survival series, which was now going to be a lot more focused and was now going to be using a lot of the ideas that we had for later episodes. And we also decided to completely disconnect it from anything that has to do with the relocation project and just immediately go to a more bunny farm type direction. Yeah, I just started working and it worked out really well. This episode took about 2 to 3 months to be made, which is crazy, and I cannot believe I got an episode as big as this done within that amount of time. We'll be watching the episode in a second, but it's crazy considering the amount of different gameplay styles, the amount of different types of scenes, the animation. It's a miracle that this was able to get released. Truly. Alright, let's start watching. So, the first scene pretty much stayed the same from when I started scripting it. I always wanted to create parallels to the Walten Files 4, considering it's also a long-awaited episode. These are a bunch of unused assets from the original versions of the Rabbit Survival 2, including the Brian shirt you see there, some stuff from Five Nights at Small 2, and this was the first original asset I created for this version of the episode. Originally this was going to be on top of a table. It was changed. Of course, the parallel to Little Bond's neighborhood. I wrote this in real life. I'm pretty sure this was written kind of later, because I didn't quite know what to put there yet. This part is also pretty funny. Originally this was going to be a missing persons PSA, which it still is, but it was going to be a lot more boring. And then I just found some driving footage and stuff, and I think it looks a lot more interesting now. Yeah, I wrote most of this on a whim. And now we get into the first actually animated scene. Now, I always wanted a continuation from the end of the Rabbit Survival 1, where you see a person sitting on TV watching a news report. And I always wanted the second episode to continue this plot line. It was always going to be Jenny. I also said this in the making of video. It was always going to be Jenny that's watching the television. The reason why did change. Yeah, here's Sophie. I do think in future episodes their designs are going to be a little bit different.
What are you watching?
I completely forgot that during the production of the second version of the Rabbit Survival 2, Alan, who now no longer works on at least didn't work on this episode, created some really beautiful designs for these characters and like what they would be wearing. And I just completely forgot about that, but I might reuse it if I'm able to. But yeah, absolutely wonderful voice acting from Noga as Sophie and Xena as Jenny. Absolutely amazing. I've always wanted to do something like this, where the text it just gets really cinematic. Um, this is just some random footage I took from someone's hiking video. This was a very difficult visual to make, especially with the walking. It was really difficult to try to make it look natural, but also still in the Walten file style. This was also very difficult. A lot of the Brian image there is obscured because I actually am not very good at drawing bodies, surprisingly. This text, the past, the present, and the everlasting future, is a reference to the original secret video of the Rabbit Survival 2, which actually is a video on my channel. And you can, there are snippets of it in the teaser originally posted during the making of video. And it's still a very important thing. Now, this picture here is of Lazy's dad. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say that, but yeah, he just asked his dad, who came home from work, can I take a picture for a series? And he did it, and he really enjoyed the episode too, which is great. This logo was created by Bob, big fan. Bob does a bunch of like 60s stuff, it's really cool. All of this entire scene, of course, is a reference to Guilty from the Walten Files Free. Yeah. So obviously these characters have been taken from the original plans for Rabbit Survival 3 and 4. There were originally going to be a lot more characters that might have made it into this episode, but we decided to kind of take a lot of these characters and kind of combine them into the characters we have now, and some others. We did some other stuff too. There's Brala, of course. All of the new characters and most of Circus Devils Incorporated was made during this episode's production. It completely new. This picture is, I think, of one of the founders, well, like someone who worked at Chuck E. Cheese. I'm off, of course. And there's the first part of the secret video, which you will be watching. And now we get into the Bunny Farm segment. So, a while ago, and I mean like 2-3 years ago, I think even longer, I tried creating an analog horror series which is called Grass Finder. And if you're a friend of mine, you definitely know about that series. I still think some of the lore I had planned for it is really interesting. This is a Commodore 64 reference, by the way. And I created this a Bunny Farm part basically as a love letter to Grass Finder and the many attempts I made at trying to bring it to its full potential. A lot of the music in this episode is actually taken from other soundtracks of other versions of the Rabbit Survival 2. Especially a part coming up is mostly is using a lot of old Rabbit Survival 2 scenes and stuff. This image, of course, is from the teaser. This image as well was going to be used in the original Rabbit Survival 2. Yeah, this naming screen is actually missing a frame. There was originally going to be one frame of the normal naming screen, and then it turning into this, because of course the game is possessed. But it was only visible in my editing software, and then when I rendered it in 24 FPS, the scene basically got cut out, which sucks. A lot of my friends have been telling me that this text is unreadable. I don't quite know why I didn't change it, but it doesn't really matter. I think it's kind of funny. If you try enough, you might be able to read a little bit of it. On the bottom right, you can see the rabbit. On the left, you see what I think is Sophie's house. So this entire part, and also the 3D part coming up, was all created in Unity. I might put some screenshots or like videos up on screen. But yes, this was all created in Unity and is actually me controlling the game. Now there isn't much, there's not like any collision detection or anything else, but what you're seeing right now is me like actually playing the game. Um, I'll probably talk more about that process, the process of recording this during the 3D segment, but yeah, this was probably the worst part of the episode to make, this bunny farm segment. And that's mostly because because it suffered from a lot of the issues I had in earlier iterations of creating this, and also while creating Grassfinder, is I did not really know what I wanted to do, and I did not really have it. The development of this part was not really specific. I didn't specifically know what was going to happen, and I was afraid the entire time that this section was going to be too short to not be important in the episode, which really sucked. Making this part of the episode really sucked, and I really had to push myself. And yeah, that's why I'm not interested in creating any new grass finder stuff, because unless I really know what I want to do, it just isn't worth it. This is a very direct reference to earlier versions of Grassfinder. There were a lot of minigames and a lot of emphasis put on collecting apples in Grassfinder, and this is basically me remaking one of the games. You saw the rabbit on the left. Yeah. In Bunny Farm, the rabbit is represented by the big gray rabbit. Thinking about it more, I should have probably recolored it, because now it probably just looks like Rocket, who is not in this episode. There was actually a bug. Apples that were falling were for some reason being collected, even though they were nowhere near close to Shaw. That was completely unintentional. Yeah, this part just sucked. The only very fun part about making this is the art, though. I used a very stretched looking style that I'm still pretty happy with. Originally, it was going to be the Bunny Farm type blocky stuff, but then I started looking into screenshots of the official Walten Files Bunny Farm remake, which might be a thing, and it was using a very different Atari type style that I really liked, more so than the FNAF blocky style, and I decided to use that instead. I do have some screenshots of an early version of this part where I originally used blocky characters, but yeah, I quickly changed that. This door, obviously a reference to Wonderland, which you'll be seeing later. Obviously, Wonderland was not planned in any previous version of the Rabbit Survival. And now we're going to the next scene. This opening is taken completely from the first episode. Well, not from from the first version of the Rabbit Survival 2. Back when it was going to be a Relocate Project remake. As you can see, this is just completely Relocate Project, and the art is much worse. It was fun bringing this back, though. And then after this, it's all new stuff. Obviously, again, very Lacrimosa inspired, very Walten 4. This was a lot of fun to draw and make. I loved editing these images to make them look old and weird and stupid. I also really enjoyed researching old music to put inside this episode. I'm really happy with the music choices, and that was probably my favorite, one of my favorite parts. It's just listening to old music, and I love the music choices in this episode. The Bunny Farm, sorry, the Bunny Smiles storage, the Cyberfun Tech storage bunker is a new concept that I hadn't thought of before. Yeah. It's And of course has to coincide with these characters. Richard Sucher. Wonder who that is. Anyway, this part was just very basic. I feel like I should have done something to make this look more interesting. Maybe a cool background or something. This is fun though. Bringing this back is interesting because I actually really did not plan ahead when we created the first Rabbit Survival. I was just kind of going off of what I thought was cool, and now having to do something to have this make sense was very interesting. So I guess just emergency things existed back then, and they were called color casts. But yeah, you'll be seeing more of that, me trying to basically retcon parts, or I guess just make parts make more sense. This scene was pretty fun to animate, I'd say. This concept of Brian being stuck on a chair in a room, in a very small room that has nothing in it. This also goes all the way back to the first version of me creating the Rabbit Survival 2. This was originally basically this was going to be the ending, and then you'd see that Brian had like an animatronic in them, and then that was basically it. I wanted to do something way better, considering the Walten Files 4 had released at this point, which gives us a whole bunch of more context about everything. Also, the police response, which was explained in the news picture. What really sucks, though, is I'm pretty sure I made a typo or a continuity error in the Rabbit Survival 1. I don't specifically remember what it was, but yeah. Drawing Rabbit here was also pretty difficult, as well. I was not really happy at certain points. I kind of suck at drawing animatronics, honestly, so apologies if you don't see many animatronics in the Rabbit Survival, because I just don't know how to draw them good. If you, the pictures of animatronics in earlier versions of the Rabbit Survival 2 just look really bad now, and yeah, I'm not, I'm not a fan. This scene was also in the original ending of the Rabbit Survival 2. Obviously not with Mitchinson's picture, but this was going to transition into the Brian scene in K9. And I actually really did like this sequence, so I kept it. Well, here we are in the 3D section. This was very, very interesting to make, because I had watched a lot of videos from a lot of Walten Falls fan stuff at this point, and I always loved the ones which are like recreating old PC games. I'm sorry, I don't remember. It was the person who created like Walten Falls 2 Retold and stuff. They created something that kind of has a similar system of moving around, and I really liked it. I wanted to kind of use it to create something similar that is all about Wonderland and all that stuff. I hope I did a good job, and it doesn't just seem like a ripoff. I was very nervous that it wouldn't really add enough to be its own thing or be interesting, but I'm personally really happy with how this looks still. I think it's really interesting. This, however, was actually not the most difficult thing to create. However, you know, it was still made in Unity and stuff, but this was not as hard as the Bunny Farm 2D segment. What was difficult, though, was recording this. At the time, I did not have audio. Well, I was not able to hear the audio of the game while playing this, and I was not able to, which you'll notice later will be a problem, because I had to time a certain something. I was very nervous while recording this. I don't think you can notice this in the gameplay, hopefully, but I was very scared of messing something up, showing a bug or something. And even though this did have collision detection, I was still very nervous of going somewhere I wasn't supposed to, or something else. The Sophie sign, if you're wondering, just says nothing. It was originally going to be shown. I decided not to. That's not like a lore thing. I hope. And Molly. I basically wanted to still give a lot of Walten Files 2 characters and all their representations, because the original Walten Files cast is not seen that much in this episode, and I kind of still want to give them a moment, kind of, um, because I still kind of wanted the Walten Files 2 to exist in this episode, and this was the best that I could think of, some kind of memorial site. What does really suck about this is that I had to guess a lot about Wonderland. This video obviously came out before the Walten Files 5 and 6, and I'm still kind of nervous that the Walten Files 5 and 6 are going to come out and basically retcon all of this, and then I have to scrap all my plans for the future of the series and just create something entirely new and try to make sense of all this. It's kind of annoying when you're trying to create a fan series or like a fan AU or something that is still ongoing, because it can just be like, yeah. Hopefully that was happen. Hopefully I got the idea of Wonderland pretty well, and if not, then whoops. I'll have to explain in the next episode then.
Nothing's come up yet.
With the Brian text box, I did just accidentally press it to show it again. Whoopsies. A lot of the cutting is supposed to look like the cuts created in Petscop, which I watched a lot while making this. Obviously, I mean, yeah.
I definitely think this game is haunted or something because there is no...
Now this is the Bonds Burgers building, and this is very interesting to make, because well, yeah. Of course, these signs are written by the rabbits before you actually see them. I'm very happy with the atmosphere I've been able to create in this area, though. I'm still very happy with how this looks. I want to try my best to still make it look like it's kind of a weird video game, but also still kind of scary. I was kind of nervous that this section would take too long, especially during this Bonds Burger section. I tried my best to cut it down, but I also wanted to kind of test if this is effective horror, if this is kind of creepy. Hopefully this is good. Hopefully this is kind of spooky. If not, then I definitely messed up. I hope I did something. Now entering the rabbit. Oh boy. So this was of course, this character was not planned at all for the first episode. While we were making the first episode, basically all of this is completely disconnected from my original plans for the first episode, aside from maybe Brian's fate. But still, that was kind of changed and like given more context. But yeah, the rabbit is a very interesting character, which I cannot wait to explain more about sometime. Yeah, I wish I could say more, but there's also not much to say. Alright, this is probably my favorite part of this entire section. This is just very good. Collecting this cassette tape is great, in my opinion. Now exiting Bonds Burgers, I did cut up a lot of this because it would just be more walking and nothing happening, and I was getting kind of scared that this is just not an interesting place anymore. So I cut around it a little bit. The original recording of this, I think, was like, it was a long, it was, I think, 20 minutes, if not more. I did
I need a
I did make it a little bit
fucking
less.
breather after all that.
Yeah.
I I guess this package was meant for me all along, wasn't it?
The dialogue that you're hearing here from Xena is the last piece of voice acting recorded for this episode. Um, it took a while for us to have the time to record it, and the episode was actually, well, aside from the animation of the ending, the rest of the episode was doing very well at the time, and I was waiting on this, which is fine, obviously. Alright, now this cassette part. I remember when I ended up canceling the original Rabbit Survival 2, I told these voice actors and everyone that I really did not want their efforts to be in vain, and I wanted to see if I could add their work into something else. That something else ended up being this video. This was the original voice acting when the Rabbit Survival, in the Relocate Project remake of the Ashley scene, which I somehow still had, and I decided to finally put to use here, to have a little bit more, Relocate Project representation, which was very cool. I don't know, I hope I didn't make Ashley too important of a character, because Ashley kind of isn't that important as this episode might make her seem. But yeah. Now Bailey here, this character is actually controlled by me using the IJKL keys. Now if you look here, Billy moves to the right as I do. It's because it was pretty difficult for me to control two characters at the same time. And I remember you could press C. I pressed C here to make the character disappear. I should have probably added more. I should have probably added more parts where characters were actively following Jenny, or were doing some other stuff while moving. But this was already pretty difficult to make. In this section, I just kind of had to guess when the tape would be over, as I didn't have audio, which was very, yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. I guess I got it pretty well, so that helps. I didn't get it too early. This music was from Bob trying to look for music that has to do with miracles. And we got one that is actually really good and really is, makes sense to a lot of the characters. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of this one that Bob found. Just a lot of walking now. It was, yeah, it was a lot of, it was very interesting to also do just the post-processing and all that stuff for this section. It was a lot of fun trying to recreate the official style. It was a lot of fun trying to recreate the official style of Wonderland, and yeah. Sunflowers planted by the rabbit, obviously to direct Jenny where to go. And where it takes Jenny is a giant circus building, which existed, maybe. Obviously, you know, don't wanna reveal too much, but yeah. This music is music from Grassfinder. This was going to be the credits music for every Grassfinder episode. Well, season 1. Season 2 uses a different song, which, who knows, might be in the episode, it might be in a future episode as well. And I was a big fan of this piano music that I wrote. And I never got to put it anywhere, so I just used it as my alarm for a few months. But now it's here, which is just wonderful. And again, more proof that I do not know how to draw animatronics. I was so ashamed of this design for Flumbo that I just kind of hid most of it. So, yeah. Um, Whoopsies. Um, I actually... So most of these characters, I think I said something earlier in the commentary that these characters were fought specifically for this episode. That's actually wrong. In the original document for the Rabbit Survival 3 and onwards, some of these characters were actually mentioned, specifically Flumbo, and I think Brala as well, although it's possible, I believe most of Brala had been fought up during this episode. Originally, Browlet was going to be a fortune teller, and obviously, it's kind of not true. Went to the backstage. I wonder who that person on the wall is. Very, very interesting. This is something you might be wondering what the special thanks is for. The person in the special thanks, they wrote this in real life and took a picture of it. Originally, this was just going to be an image on a typewriter, but I decided later that it would be cool if it was real writing, and so Bob got one of his friends who has nice handwriting to write this in real life and then send it to him, and that's how we got this beautiful letter in the episode. I believe it was also very last minute, so pretty cool. And now we're gonna get into Joseph's room, office, whatever. Dun dun duh. You actually can't read this. It really sucks. This is Jenny Miracle's birth certificate, but you can't really read this. Which is quite unfortunate, but hopefully people got the idea at the end of the episode. But yeah, Jenny is adopted in the Rabbit Survival canon. So that's cool. This image, I took this while on a road trip to the Efteling, which is a theme park in the Netherlands. And this is basically the staff room to one of the attractions. But yeah, it's really funny. And this whole call thing was, yeah. I actually had the idea for this call scene from a play, from a theater show that I watched, where it was a character just on a phone having a one-sided conversation with someone where I couldn't hear the other side, and I thought that was really interesting, and I tried to see if I could recreate that kind of feeling of not having all the information in this series. I wonder how effective I was at that. Now, Brian, unfortunately, after all this time, kind of died, so it's quite unfortunate. Yeah. And now we're getting to the actual finale, which is the Brian Wonderland segment. Probably the most misunderstood part of the episode from the comments I have read, so I'll be doing some clarification. As you just saw, that was the second part of the secret video link. This mask is a reference to Brian in the first episode, the Bond weird looking version, and the swirls are probably a very niche reference now to a to a character from a certain 3DS game who also has swirls, and they might like ice cream. That's all. So yeah, that I don't know. I guess I just kind of did that. I didn't know what else to do. I animated most of this scene over a 2-week period where I basically had nothing else going on, and it was a very kind of stressful time. I really pushed myself to finish this episode in a timely manner. Um, I, I'm still really happy with this finale anyway, but yeah, that is something that happened. Again, still very happy with this, obviously. Oh, that's a little parallel again to the Rabbit Survival version of Lil Bond's Neighborhood. So, awesome. I am such a big I'm a very big fan of this specific shot. I do not know how I was able to do something like this. Here's another parallel coming right up. Ta-da! Foreshadowing! Even though I did not plan the moth to exist before this, this is the moth, not Bon! A very cool person, Shadownaut, who might be watching this episode, thought that this was Bon. It's not. It's a character called the Moth, who is very mysterious and very cool at the same time. Who knows? Totally not biased or anything. This character is voiced by... It's voiced by Kev, who I think has a different preferred nickname, but by Kev DT, very awesome. Another friend of Bob, who really came in clutch. Originally we thought Bob was gonna voice this character or someone else, but we eventually found someone, and they did a very, very good job. I'm very happy with this. I'm also pretty happy with the Moth's animation. It looks kind of different compared to everything else in the episode, and is the most difficult puppet to work with in this entire episode. It was absolutely a terrible mess to animate this character. You might be able to see that when he starts moving his hands or his arms, that they kind of like spasm here and there. That's because I just suffered while animating this, and they kept dislocating. Like, if you look at this, look at how many times, look at all the dislocation. That's because I just didn't know how to animate puppet rigs. Which I kind of, adds to the creepiness factor, I guess, but yeah. Handshake Sprite looks kind of awkward, with the colors, but, I'm a big fan of the shot of this shot, though. I like the parallax and stuff, and like that Brian slowly begins fading in. I like this. Yeah. The Moth was also a character which was originally in the Rabbit Survival 3 and 4 plans. It was going to be very, very different though than this, because again, Wonderland did not exist yet when that was being written up. But it's kind of similar still. Yeah, it's kind of similar. I kind of hope the Moth's way of speaking didn't get annoying for some viewers. I do understand if this whole episode kind of felt like it was stretching for time, and that unfortunately was because I was kind of nervous about the length of this episode. I really wanted to make sure that the people who waited all this time got like a satisfying second episode, got something that was actually worth their time, and therefore I did add a lot of stuff and a lot of anticipation, and added a lot of stuff to kind of make the episode longer. And while I am still happy with it, I probably shouldn't have done that. However, if it works, then I guess it works. I don't know. The Moth speaking pattern was not a part of trying to make the episode longer, though. And I'm sorry if the scene is kind of dragging on. That's Bralet right there. Brian becoming Browlet.
I can destroy anything.
Kind of sister location-esque, I guess.
Him.
This part was fun to animate. Kind of. And the present is still there. How curious.
Death to be in vain.
I wonder,
Cause
I wonder where that present came from.
to be in
Anyway.
vain.
And here's the moth again from earlier in the episode. Wow! And Browlet is gone. I wonder where he went. I'm actually not sure if I showed well enough in this episode that Brian became Browlet. I feel like I could have done maybe a little bit of a better job, but that's what's happening here. That's not a spoiler. That's what you're supposed to get from this episode. This episode was basically created to explain what happened to Brian. I hope I did a good job, but you know, eh. And this was the last piece of the episode that I had to draw. For some reason, it was kind of difficult to do because for me, finishing stuff is really hard. And this is also the only full body animation in the entire episode, I'm pretty sure. So that was also kind of a challenge, and I should look into how to do full body rigs better if I continue the series, which, I mean, obviously, you have no idea how far the lore goes further than this episode, and it would be so cool if I get to tell the entire story. But yeah. Hopefully this was a good enough reveal for everything. Maybe some had to piece it together. I don't know. This little tease maybe. I wonder what's happening here. This music was a lot of, yeah. This is probably a very good pick for the ending music to kind of just be in it. It's kind of like a movie ending. Yeah. I originally there is actually a bit of unused music from earlier versions of the Rabbit Survival 2, especially the credits music. I decided to choose a non-original song for the credits music, but I did have an original piece of music for it. I just felt like it wasn't effective enough. And I'm not sure what to do with it now. I might put it on the music channel, who knows. Kev DT, voice of the Moth, did an absolutely wonderful job. Everyone in this cast did a great job in this episode. It's amazing. Yeah. Thank you all for staying patient. I really hope this was worth it. While I was making this, I was not sure if there was ever going to be a Rabbit Survival free. And I really was afraid of continuing my mistakes, of promising things and then not delivering on them. That happened with Five Nights at Small 2, and it happened with this, obviously. And looking back, I just should not have teased this episode as much as I did. And it's also earlier versions of Five Nights at Small 2, although that might be a conversation for another day. But yeah, finally fulfilling these promises made me learn that I should definitely kind of not promise things way too early. I thought about making a teaser video for this episode, but I didn't. The most I did was a video, It's a Miracle, which you can see in my unlisted videos, which I kind of created to kind of get back interest in Walten stuff before I dropped this episode. But I already made it while I was about over halfway into the process of creating the episode. But yeah, who knows? I really hope I do get to create a Rabbit Survival free, but again, please do not take what I'm saying as a promise that it's going to happen. I just can't know. There's a lot going on in my life. Obviously, I'm very busy, and yeah, I do want to continue creating stuff. I'm kind of not gonna make promises about stuff anymore, especially stuff that I may or may not have started on. Alright, so we're almost done. Now let's take a look at the secret video, It Spreads Its Wings, which I'm not sure if many people have seen. I guess we'll see. This was created before. I should actually probably talk about the VHS effect. So, this is a real VCR. I record this on a real VCR. Which was kind of a hassle at the time, but it's now easier to do. It was it was a really funny process though. But yeah, there is a copy of the Rabbids Marvel 2 just in a VHS tape. It's great. This animation here was created in Blender, using noise modifiers on a path. It was very funky to work with, but somehow I got it working. This was kind of a mess to get working, but I am so happy with how this looks, and I'm very surprised that I put this on the secret video and not somewhere in the real video, but I guess, you know, secret video's gotta be good. Yeah. This whole speech is pretty important. Maybe, who knows? It was fun making a bunch of weird shapes. Wonderful. Strange audio that came with the set of tapes. Very strange indeed. This is a real cassette recorder that I own as well. Played on a camcorder that I own. It's kind of rare. I don't really use real life footage a lot, just in general. This was kind of an exception. This cassette was borrowed from a friend and I recorded this onto it. Yeah. I hope this is kind of understandable in the actual video. I don't think so, and I didn't decide to caption this part on purpose, but you know, maybe you might be able to decode it. I'd be very interested in seeing that. It would be cool to see anyone make content about the Rabbids revival. Who knows? Send this to Daco. There's kind of a scene missing. There was going to be a little bit of a Wonderland scene, which I forgot to put in. So, whoops, but it doesn't add much, don't worry. I wonder what this is. Alright, this song, what was it called again? Lullaby of the Leaves. This song we found, me and Bob, while creating the original lore, and we realized that it perfectly matches up with the figure and their goals and their everything. And I'm so happy that people finally get to listen to this song. Obviously not original music, but it's great to see this song now actually in a thing. Unfortunately, still not in an official episode. I'm not sure if it will ever be, but yeah, this is the figure's theme song, basically. This scene obviously is a reference to the Walten Falls Free, you know, the bunny farm, the hide and seek thing, that entire ordeal. You know, quite strange. I wonder what will happen. I'm sorry, Sophie. Well, that was the Rabbids Revival 2. I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Sorry, this might be a very long video, but I really enjoyed explaining everything that I could about the creation process of this episode. I am just so happy to see that this episode is finally a thing, considering all the promises I made about it and all the teasers I created about it and everything else. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching it. If you did, if you didn't, then, well, you watched it now, so I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I hope to create more awesome stuff for you guys, and yeah, I don't know if I'm probably not gonna be a full-time YouTuber or anything, or like anything else. I just want to make stuff, make, make movies, and, games, and I'm gonna keep doing that. And yeah, I hope I get to create more stuff. That's all, basically. Have an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you sometime. Goodbye.